It's wait until next year for the SDSU men's basketball team, while the football team gears up, along with Coach Sean Lewis, for spring practice. Hello and welcome to Aztecs All In. I'm Lewis Weiner along with Steve Perez. Aztecs fans still trying to recover from the disappointing end of the season in the Mountain West Conference Championship game, but there is always next year, right, Steve?
Hello, Lewis. Feels kind of odd not to be talking about Aztecs basketball, but that's what happens when you are not named to the big dance because you just didn't stack enough big wins when it counted. Simple as that. So what we get to look forward to now is football season. Season tickets on sale, the new Pac-12 schedule, and a lot of new faces. Coach Sean Lewis will be along in a bit to talk more about it.
Steve, the NCAA tournament is underway, and for the first time since 2019, not including the COVID year, the Aztecs are on the sidelines. Coach Brian Dutcher met with the media this week to talk about a season that ended with a loss to Utah State in the finals of the Mountain West Conference Championship. On paper, that was a pretty darn good season for the Aztecs. 22-11 overall, 14-6 in conference. Good enough for second place in the regular season, and a trip, of course, to the championship game for the 12th time in 15 years. Dutcher pointed out how in most seasons, that resume ends up in the NCAA tournament, but not this year. And as you'll hear, he believes the Mountain West Conference is partially to blame, in part because he says it was too good a conference this season. The Aztecs finished as the third team out in the NCAA tournament, and it's easy to look back on the season and try to figure out what games could have made a difference. Of course, fans will immediately point out that double overtime loss to Quad 3 opponent Troy, an NCAA tournament team, by the way, that the Aztecs fought back to tie down 11 with about 7 minutes left in regulation, with Miles Bird hitting a half-court shot at the buzzer. And despite leading by 4 in both overtimes, the Aztecs lost the game. There's also the 2 losses to Grand Canyon. Win one of those, and that could have made a difference. The Aztecs lost by 5 at Utah State, but led by 11 in the second half and actually led for most of that game. Couldn't pull it out. At New Mexico, Aztecs had it tied late. Couldn't pull it out. Some fans will argue that the Aztecs played too many guys, going with an 11-man rotation for most of the season until injuries forced Dutcher's hand. The fact is, even Dutcher himself is second-guessing himself for his roster decisions. When asked about Latrell Davis, who's a redshirt and didn't play this season, Dutcher had glowing praise and surprised many with what he had to say.
Yeah, Latrell Davis, I think if we had him and played him this year, we'd be in the NCAA tournament. But at the same time, you don't know that as the journey starts. You know, once I had him on the practice floor the entire season, and even through the preseason, he's an everyday guy. He's extremely talented, and he has a skill set that some of the players I had on the team didn't have this year. And so I'm encouraged by adding Latrell next year. I think he'll have a chance to be a first-team all-conference type player. So excited to have Latrell on the team and on the floor next year.
Once the Aztecs didn't make the big dance, Coach Dutcher decided it was best for his players and program not to play in any other postseason tournament and called it a season. While disappointing to some fans, it does give him and his staff an early opportunity to prepare for next year.
No, well, the transfer portal, I'm going to find out who's going to be back for my team first. And obviously, the portal doesn't officially open until after the Final Four. But if you just look online, there are kids going in the portal every day through social media. And then there are agents that are behind the scenes reaching out all over the country. And so we have our hands on it. We know what we need to a degree for next year. And when my exit interviews finish, and it's as much as finding out, I want guys that want to be back. I don't want to talk anybody into coming back. If you want to come back, here's what you have to do to become a better player. If you don't want to come back, I'm going to hug you and wish you well and know that there are great opportunities for everybody out there. So there's nothing personal about it. I love these kids I have in my program. I told them that yesterday when I had my final team meeting, And now I've met with 3 kids already today, and we'll meet with 6 more and try to get a gauge as to where they're at right now and find out what their intents are for the future and how I can help them, whether it's with us or if it's somewhere else. And that's the reality of basketball now. We all know that. And so I'm embracing it. I'm good at it. I always have been, and I will put a team together next year that Aztec fans will be proud of. There'll be familiar faces, and there'll be new faces. And we will be competitive at the highest level.
So what went wrong this season? In December and January, the Aztecs' defensive efficiency was one of the best, if not the best, in the nation. But that was not the case in February and March. And Dutcher said that goes hand in hand with the struggles his team had on the boards.
Yeah, our defense was inconsistent. I think this is the second year in a row. Our rebounding probably hurt us more than anything. But, I see that every day. I've got A.G. Aguka Rope out there practicing. He's on the staff. Dakari Allen's helping us. And when I watch him practice, those two get every rebound. Then it's hard to say when we get to a game, I'm surprised. But those guys are elite rebounders. And so I have to recruit a rebounder. I have to get someone that can go get the ball. Or these other guys have to become drastically better at it. But I think our initial defense was pretty good. It was all the second chance opportunities. If we secure a rebound, then our defensive numbers are going to be good. And at the end of the day, I think our defense was still ranked in the top 20 nationally for our numbers. So that's pretty good. But we could have been better. When we go to the Final Four, our metrics are in the top 10, like Houston is consistently. So the difference between a top 20 and a top 10 is a difference between playing in March and not playing in March.
As for who may or may not be back next season, Dutcher says that is a work in progress. He said Miles Bird has an interesting decision because he's graduating. He can return. He can go the way that Lamont Butler chose, taking some big bucks to play for a final year at Kentucky, or he can go the NBA draft route. As for Magoon Gwath, Dutcher thought he played pretty well in the final 3 games in the tournament, and he was healthy as he had been all year. He's not sure what Gwath's plans are right now. And as for the Aztecs' 2-star freshmen, Elsie Harrington and Tay Simmons,
I would hope they would want to come back and would come back. I haven't met with them individually yet. But, it's not just meeting with the kid. Then it's the parents, and then they have agents. And so an agent's job is to try to maximize his client's financial opportunities. So they may say they want to stay, but the agent will, whether they're in the portal or not, you have to understand this. Everybody's in the portal. If they have an agent, they're in the portal. And so they're entertaining offers from everywhere. And so they get enough offers, and then they say, well, I think I'll go in the portal because they already know what the offers are. So kids that aren't in the portal doesn't mean they're not out there. Their agents are talking to people every day, and they're saying, well, what about your guy? Here's what he's worth. Here's what I'd be willing to pay him if he goes in the portal. So even though guys aren't in the portal, they're in the portal. They'll both be valued because of what they did this year as freshmen. So they'll both be valued out there. I think they would, as I sit here today, I would think they both want to come back.
With the Aztecs moving into the Pac-12 next season, the challenge for Brian Dutcher and his staff is to stay relevant on the national scale. And that's especially true with national powerhouse Gonzaga on the schedule 2 times next season.
Yeah, I always feel like we try to say we're trying to be like Gonzaga, equal to Gonzaga, where the fact, it doesn't matter what conference in. We're a high major program in a mid-major conference. So our attitude is whatever conference we're in to move to the new Pac-12, we are San Diego State. We have our own identity, and we should be valued nationally. And that's what my goal is, to keep us at that level. So I like to move to the new conference. Some would argue that the Mountain West taking Grand Canyon this year cost us bids. As good as they are, and they were a dang good team, but adding another team seemed to strengthen the middle, and there wasn't any separation. We got beat twice by Grand Canyon this year in 2 good games. Boise got, I think, beat twice by Grand Canyon. They had a good non-conference schedule. So, like I said, when I say the Mountain West consumed itself, that's what happened. A lot of good teams in the middle. No separation, really, between Utah State, who won the regular season, the postseason. They went on a stretch at the end of the year. They lost 3 out of 4 games. So at the end of the year when they were playing some of their best basketball. So the Mountain West kind of destroyed itself, in my opinion, this year, where we cost ourselves by being too good.
Coaching basketball is so much more than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Then it was mostly about X's and O's with little thought about players coming and going. But the transfer portal changed all that. So coaches not only have to choose players that fit their system, but also find players who want to be there. There's also a lot more pressure on the players these days, not only facing the pressure to perform on the court, but to also live up to the huge amount of NIL dollars they're signing up for these days. That means the head coach needs to be a steady and supportive influence while remaining critical of the performances on the court.
I'm always self-examining every year. I don't say because we've had success last year, this is what we're going to do again. I think they know that about our program, that I'm always evaluating myself first and foremost. I'm not a coach that deflects and blames his team or blames his assistants when things don't go right. At the end of the day, I'm the head coach, so everything rests on my shoulders. So I'm constantly evaluating myself first and foremost, and then the way I do things with my assistants, with my team. And so this is the time of year to do that. Like sometimes during the season, you can only give a team or a person as much as they can handle at that time. And now that the season's over, now's the time for brutal honesty as to how I look at you. I want you to tell me how you think I can be better, and we have an honest conversation. But sometimes with the pressure of competition and trying to get the best out of someone every day, sometimes that's not the time to ride a guy and beat him into submission, and that's kind of just knowing how to deal with people. So this time is not that time. This time is, if you come back, this is what you have to change in yourself, change in your attitude, change in your game to have the success you want to have and we want to have. And so I think we all know with dealing with kids now, some of it's attitude, and I have to adjust attitude. Some of it, this day and age, and we all know, some kids suffer psychologically from stress, from depression, and so you look at those kids differently. Sometimes it's not their attitude. Sometimes they struggle with life, and so you approach those kids different. And so as much as you say, well, we're all the same and we all function the same, that's not the case at all. And that's dealing with kids in a classroom, whether you're teaching a class or whether you're coaching a basketball team. So my job is to get the best out of everybody and knowing what their weaknesses are and knowing there's a reason for some of those weaknesses. Some of it's just because they got a bad attitude, and I can correct that. Some of it's because they need help professionally, and I can get them that help. And so all you're trying to do is maximize each individual's maximum potential, and that's what I try to do as a coach, not just to sit there of the old coaching age and say we're all the same and you're going to act the same. We know from society that's not the case anymore, and the way you deal with people is different.
So should Aztecs fans be prepared for a lot of new faces next season? Well, Coach Dutcher said he isn't sure, and that most of his guys do want to stay, but sometimes the money is too great a lure. He mentioned Nick Boyd, who had a fantastic season at Wisconsin, loved his time with the Aztecs last year, wanted to stay, but couldn't pass on the more than $1 million payday. The transfer portal opens soon after the national championship game next month, so it appears we'll find out sooner than later. Steve, how about what Sean Lewis had to say about upcoming spring football practice?
Lewis, time now to talk some spring football. Coach Sean Lewis style. Feels like the regular season just ended because time flies when you're having fun, and the Aztecs did have some fun with a winning season and a bowl game. And this season, it's the one we've been talking about for the last couple of years. It's now right around the corner. Aztecs officially will compete in the new Pac-12. Spring practice, of course, governed by NCAA rules. You remember those. It used to be gospel until lawyers got in the ears of athletes and TV networks tossed around such big bucks and set so many events in motion. We don't have the time to get into all of it just now. Just back to the rules about spring ball. Teams have 15 practices over about 5 weeks. Supposed to max out at 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. Only 4 full contact sessions allowed. A welcome change, at least as far as coaches and schools are concerned, is the spring transfer portal window is no more. It's gone for 2026. Now just one clean January window so rosters can actually settle and coaches and players can get to know each other at the beginning of each year. Yes, sir, spring ball, that's where players can stake their claim to a role on the field by showing what they can do. And Coach Sean Lewis talked to local media on Tuesday and said it best. We're under 175 days until we kick off. How are we going to invest this time?
We know that, and we're aware of that. So how are we going to invest this time, right? How are we going to spend this time? Are we just going to waste the time? And so, again, who's got that competitive maturity? Who has that urgency? And yeah, absolutely. Like, roles will start being defined here, in a quick, fast hurry. Like, can't help myself. And as a staff, like, we're constantly evaluating, right? Like, we're constantly giving feedback. And then how do you respond to those evaluations? How do you respond to that feedback? How do you take the coaching so that we can build trusting and worthwhile relationships as we go here?
Well, the big position most people will want to know about, the quarterback. Jaden Denigal back and healthy after shoulder surgery. New faces in the room with Kyle Crum hitting the portal. Burt Emanuel Jr. reportedly switching to wide receiver. Aztecs have Stone Sanders brought in, a transfer from Kentucky, 4-star recruit from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, did not see the field last season as a freshman. And Trudeau redshirted for the Aztecs last season as a freshman out of Mission Viejo. Here's Coach Lou on the crew.
Jane's going to get a lot of reps. Stone's going to get a lot of reps. All Day Dre is going to get some reps as well. And again, like, the beauty in which our style of play is, there's a ton of reps to go around, right? And so there's going to be a great body of work that everyone's going to be able to learn and grow from their own reps that they're getting. And then again, from the other lessons that will be taught from the other reps that guys are going to get. So I'm looking forward to them, again, enhancing their best, to stretching their edges, to figuring out, hey, what windows can we fit throws into? How do we develop relationship and timing with the new speed that is around them so that we can cultivate the details of our craft when it comes to the throw game and do that at a much higher level, because that wasn't to the standard of our performance.
Another high-profile change is the loss of elite edge rusher Trey White. He's not the only one, of course, but these days it's a fact of life, and the Aztecs are moving forward after players have moved on in the transfer portal. They're trying to stack talent in the portal themselves and high school since January. Plenty of new faces, moving serious weight in the weight room, supposedly. And Lewis says there's some team speed to boast about, with 30 guys over 20 miles an hour on the GPS trackers. Spring about figuring out who steps up, and we hope to dive deeper into that in future editions of Aztecs All In. But suffice it to say, they believe they have guys who can play, and they're excited about them. And Coach Lou's favorite spring theme, nobody walks in and gets handed a job. He wants the guys showing up every day, watching film on their own, stacking small wins, showing what they can do. Not just about talent, it's competitive maturity. Like any roster, this one is said to have raw materials with strength in the weight room and speed without the pads on. But spring's a chance to learn who can turn that into a contributing role on a football team. Here's Coach Lou talking about that, and also sorting out the offensive line situation under new coach Bill Boyle after Mike Schmidt moved on to Kansas State.
Now the rubber meets the road in terms of building the team and guys earning a role. And so I'm looking at who can consistently show up each and every single day, who's going to learn from, previous mistakes and previous lessons, because that's all part of the growth. And, again, who's going to work in the dark and who's going to stack the opportunities from meetings in the mornings to walkthroughs to the actual live reps that we get in group work and teamwork, and then who's going to go and take the time to watch the film on their own so that then they can have good questions in the meeting room and take ownership of the roles that they want to earn, and not just say, hey, I want to be a starter, or hey, we want to be champions. Well, great, everyone wants that. Like, are you showing a willingness to prepare and do that and have, again, the competitive maturity to show up each and every single day and each and every single opportunity with an urgency to realize and know.
Bottom line for now, Lewis, spring ball isn't about final starters yet. It's about who's willing to grind when nobody's watching. The coaches and players are online. Now it's time to work on the fundamentals so they can put it all together when the lights come on in the new Pac-12. Alrighty then, let's wrap up this edition of Aztecs All In, where you can follow what's going on with anything related to the Aztecs on our X account. That is at Aztecs _all_in. You can drop us a line on our Gmail account. That is aztecsallin@gmail.com. And make sure you subscribe and like and review, maybe say a few nice things about Aztecs All In wherever you check out your favorite podcast. So, for Lewis Weiner, this is Steve Perez saying thanks for checking us out. We'll be back with you soon.